Open your eyes and look at the world surrounding you right now. It is overcrowded, overheated, suffocating under the weight of its own chaos. And the men inside it, most of them are sinking, not because life is cruel, but because they were never taught how to swim beneath the surface where real power breathes. They chase visibility, they hunger for validation. They mistake noise for progress and movement for momentum. But the men who truly hold this world by the throat, they are quiet, they are still, they are dangerous in a way no crowd will ever understand. Welcome to Dark Mindplicit. And if you are watching this right now, something inside you already knows that the version of yourself you have been living as is not the version you were built to become. That restlessness you feel, that quiet rage underneath every ordinary day, that is not weakness. That is the signal. So before you scroll past, before you convince yourself you have heard this before, drop a single word, comments right now that describes the man you are determined to become. Not the man you are today, the man waiting on the other side of your discipline. One word, drop it. Because the men who name their destination are the ones who actually arrive. Now let us begin. The graveyard of the talker. Every syllable that exits your mouth without purpose is a withdrawal from a bank account you cannot afford to drain. Every word is currency, and most men are spending it like reckless children, buying approval from people who will never invest in them, purchasing temporary comfort with permanent credibility. The man who speaks constantly is handing strangers a map to his interior, his fears, his ambitions, his wounds, his plans, all of it, laid out like an open book in a room full of people who are quietly studying the weaknesses between the lines. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago and recorded it in ink so sharp it still cuts today. The man who reveals himself surrenders himself. Yet here we are, in an age where men confess their entire strategy to rivals wearing friendly faces, where they justify every decision to crowds that were never qualified to judge, where they repeat, explain, defend, and re-explain until the opportunity has already walked out the door laughing. This is not communication, this is hemorrhaging. Every word spoken to the wrong ear is a wound that compounds with interest. So here is what changes today. You will begin treating your voice the way a surgeon treats a scowl. Used only when precision demands it, never wielded casually, never displayed simply to remind others it exists. The strong do not narrate their moves. The strong do not preview their strikes. The strong observe. They calculate in silence. They act without warning. When you begin speaking less, two things will happen simultaneously, and both will serve you. First, people will begin to treat your words as significant, because rarity creates gravity. Second, the world around you will begin to speak more honestly in the space you leave open, and in that honesty you will learn everything you were never supposed to know. The predator does not announce the hunt. Kill the talker inside you. Bury him without a eulogy. And let the new man rise, the one who listens with calculation, speaks with authority, and exits every room having learned more than he revealed. The architecture of a quiet mind. Now turn the lens inward, because the most relentless enemy you will ever face is not waiting outside your door. He lives between your ears. Most men are not dismantled by circumstances. They are dismantled by the courtroom inside their own skull, where every choice is prosecuted before it is ever made, where every plan is cross-examined until the window to execute it has already shut, where every instinct is strangled by 1,000 hypothetical outcomes that never arrive. They call this thinking. It is not thinking, it is fear wearing the disguise of intelligence. Machiavelli did not ascend by running his thoughts in circles. He ascended by watching, deciding, and moving with the cold certainty of a man who had long ago stopped asking the world's permission. The quiet mind is not a vacant mind. It is a fortified one. It has ceased chasing every anxious thought the way a dog pursues every passing vehicle. It has recognized that the vast majority of what floods the mind on any given day, the regret, the fantasy, the spiral of self-doubt, is simply weather. It is not reality. It does not deserve a throne. You must appoint yourself the gatekeeper of your own cognition. When a thought presents itself, you ask it one question before granting it entry. Does this thought build the man I am becoming, or does it erode him? If it erodes, you dismiss it, not with guilt, not with ceremony, simply with the quiet authority of someone who no longer has room for squatters in his mind. Understand this truth plainly. Overthinking is not a sign of depth. It is a symptom of self-distrust, and the only treatment that actually works is not more analysis. It is decision, movement, silence. Sit alone without the comfort of a screen. Walk without the buffer of sound. Eat without the escape of distraction. Train your mind to rediscover what it has slowly forgotten, the ability to exist within stillness without being terrified of what it finds there. In that stillness, your genuine instincts will resurface, the ones that were buried under years of other people's opinions and societal static. You will begin to hear your own voice clearly again, and when a man can hear himself clearly above the noise, no crowd can redirect him, no insult can destabilize him, no manipulator can plant a seed in the granite of his conviction. The violence of focus. Focus is the rarest resource remaining on this earth, and the architects of every platform, every notification, every engineered interruption in your daily existence, they know this. They have built entire economies around the systematic theft of it. And the tragedy, most men hand it over without negotiating a single term. Then they look up at 35, 40, 50, and wonder why their life feels like sand perpetually escaping through a fist that never quite closes. Here is the truth stated without mercy. You are not behind because you were denied talent. You are behind because your attention has been fragmented across 100 competing directions, none of which you have ever committed to fully enough to conquer. Machiavelli constructed entire architectures of influence using only two instruments, a sharpened mind and a pen that never wandered from its purpose. Consider what a man with that quality of focus could do in the age you currently inhabit. The focused man is unsettling to observe, not because he is loud or imposing, because he has made a decision. Most men spend their entire lives avoiding the decision to sacrifice breadth for depth, to amputate the irrelevant, to kill his options in service of his obsession. This is what focus actually demands, not motivation, not the inspiration, amputation. Cut relationships that consume without contributing. Cut the habits that soften the edges you have been working to sharpen. Cut the entertainment that feeds the version of you that needs to stay comfortable. The focused man is not afraid of missing out. He has made peace with it. While others scatter themselves across 10 ambitions and achieve fractions of each, he selects one obsession and consumes it entirely. Identify yours, then defend it the way a king defends his throne from those who would rather watch him fall than build their own. Let it be the quiet pulse underneath every hour. And when distraction arrives, and it will arrive dressed in 100 attractive disguises, friendships, opportunities, harmless pleasures, remember that every yes to the irrelevant is a betrayal of the man you swore this silence was building. Focus is not a strategy. Focus is loyalty to your future self. Honor it. And within a single year, the empire assembling quietly beneath your feet will be something even you will not fully recognize yet. The mask of the sovereign. Now learn the law that divides those who hold power from those who perpetually serve it. The law of the mask. Every man wears one. The question is whether he chooses it deliberately or wears it accidentally, leaking everything that was meant to stay concealed. Machiavelli understood at the cellular level of his intelligence that the world does not respond to what you are, it responds to what you permit it to perceive, and what you permit it to perceive must always be a deliberate decision, never an emotional spillage. This is not deception. This is sovereignty. The man who broadcasts every internal fluctuation is placing the controls of his own life into the hands of observers. Insult him and watch him collapse inward. Flatter him and watch him expand outward. Threaten him and watch him fracture at the edges. He is a mechanism that anyone with minimal effort can learn to operate. You will not be that man. From this moment forward, your expression becomes a strategic instrument. When they deliver an insult, you receive it with the quiet amusement of someone watching a child attempt something far beyond their capacity. When they offer praise, you accept it with a single nod, as though the outcome was never in question. When they attempt to ignite a reaction, you offer them silence instead, and that silence will occupy their thoughts long after any clever response would have faded. Let them construct theories about you in your absence. Let them debate what lies behind the stillness. Mystery is not weakness, mystery is gravity. And gravity pulls everything worth having toward the center. Inside you may burn. Inside you may be executing plans of extraordinary precision, but outside you are winter. Composed, unreadable, unhurried. Not cold for the pleasure of cruelty, controlled for the necessity of survival. Because the moment the world discovers the mechanism by which you can be moved, the world will use it, endlessly, without apology. And you were not constructed to be a tool in someone else's hand. You were built to be the hand, the power of strategic distance. Here is a reality that the chronically available will never grasp. Your worth is determined as much by your absence as your presence. The men who exist in every room are valued in none. The men who appear selectively are studied carefully. Machiavelli mapped this dynamic with ruthless clarity long before social networks transformed ordinary people into performance artists, begging for the currency of strangers' attention. He understood that constant proximity breeds invisible contempt, that familiarity is the slow erosion of reverence, that the ruler who is always reachable is always, in some quiet corner of the mind, replaceable. So absorb this law. Let it restructure how you move through the world. When you are perpetually accessible, you become furniture, functional, unnoticed, assumed. When you withdraw, even incrementally, even briefly, something ancient and involuntary stirs in the people around you. They begin to think about you. They begin to reach. They begin to attach weight to your name, rather than simply habit. This is not manipulation. This is the physics of human attention, operating exactly as it was designed to operate. What is constant is catalogued and ignored. What is rare is examined and valued. Stop responding before the thought to respond has fully formed. Stop appearing in spaces that never extended a genuine invitation. Stop pouring your fire into rooms that bring nothing but draft. Pull back, not from bitterness, from strategy. Let your absence articulate what your presence has been unable to convey. Watch the people who treated your proximity as decoration suddenly feel the texture of what they were taking for granted. Watch distance reveal an architecture of every relationship you have been too present to examine clearly. Distance does not end connections. It reveals which connections were ever real. Once that revelation surfaces, you will stop wasting your depth on shallow altars. Disappear into the construction. Disappear into the discipline. Disappear into the quiet and unglamorous, unseeable work of becoming who you are here to be. And when you return, only on terms you have written yourself, you will return as something unrecognizable to the people who thought they had already figured you out. Heavier, sharper, entirely untouchable, the cold mind. Now we enter the chamber most men stand outside of indefinitely, convinced the temperature inside will destroy them. The chamber where emotion is removed from the executive seat and cold clarity takes its rightful place. Hear this without retreating from it. Emotion is not your adversary. Emotion processed and understood is data. but emotion seated at the controls of your decisions is the most reliable path to outcomes you will spend years trying to reverse. Every catastrophic chapter in your story can be traced to a singular moment when feeling occupied the seat that reason was supposed to hold. You disclosed too much because you needed to be understood. You trusted too completely because it felt safer than acknowledging the warning. You reacted because your pride demanded an immediate audience for its grievance. Machiavelli did not build his legacy by feeling loudly. He built it by seeing clearly, and clarity is structurally incompatible with a mind that is boiling, bleeding, or begging for recognition. The cold mind is not a mind hollowed of feeling. It is a mind that has established hierarchy. When anger surfaces, the cold mind asks with genuine curiosity, what action does this anger want me to take, and who profits when I take it? When fear materializes, it asks, is this instinct protecting me or preventing me? When desire arrives, it asks, is this ambition authentically mine, or was it installed in me by someone who collects dividends from my pursuit of it? This is the internal tribunal of the disciplined. Nothing is admitted without interrogation. Nothing is executed without authorization. The undisciplined are governed by whichever emotion mostly holds you highest, not because life force, therefore untile chaos, not because life is proportionately unkind to them, but because they have never established command of their own interior. That ends for you today. When someone attempts to diminish you, you do not flinch. You observe them because every insult is an autobiography. When someone chooses betrayal, you do not dissolve. You document because betrayal is the most efficient curriculum in the study of human nature. When life delivers a blow, you do not negotiate with the sky. You breathe, reorient, and advance. The cold mind does not suspend love. It does not amputate compassion. It does not forbid feeling. It simply refuses to be governed by feelings. Emotions become advisors, not administrators, not monarchs, and the man who operates from that architecture, calm inside conditions that fragment everyone around him, becomes something the world produces rarely and forgets never. The patience of the predator. Now receive the teaching modern culture has spent decades trying to steal from you. Patience. Not the hollow patience of the defeated, the kind men adopt when every option is gone and they rename their surrender as a acceptance. That is not patience. That is a man who has taped believing dressed up in virtue. I am speaking of something darker, sharper, the patience of the predator. The man who has already seen the conclusion, who knows the geometry of the moment, who waits with zero desperation, because he understands one precise strike at the right moment accomplishes what 1,000 frantic attempts never could. The lion does not chase every animal. He studies the herd for hours, identifying which one limps, which one strays, which one has forgotten that death is always close. Then from perfect stillness, one movement. Not a sprint, a verdict, long patience, sudden precision, return to silence. Most men cannot hold this rhythm. Stillness feels like failure to them, so they move too early, speak before the room is ready. Expose their hand before the game reaches the round where hands matter. They lose, not from lack of ability, from excess of urgency. When someone wrongs you, wait. Time exposes every man without your interference. When you want something deeply, hide the hunger. Desperation has a scent. Every negotiation, every room, every relationship shifts the moment it becomes visible who needs the other more. Prepare in private. Position in silence. Build so thoroughly that when the moment arrives, you are not chasing the outcome. The outcome is simply coming home. Patience is not the absence of power. Patience is power in its most lethal, concentrated form. The untouchable man. We have arrived, not at a destination, At a beginning, untouchable does not mean immune. It means nothing can displace you from the center of yourself. Insults pass through like weather. Betrayals educate instead of break you. Loss refines instead of ruins you. The world holds no map to what you have built inside, because the world built none of it. Machiavelli wrote of princes, but the deepest throne has always been the one between your own ears. Claim it, and every external throne begins assembling itself around you. You think with precision now. Speak with weight. Focus with obsession. Wear the mask with sovereignty. Guard your distance. Govern your emotions. Move only when the move is final. This is not a character. This is architecture. The world stops testing what it cannot damage. It pursues the reactive. It feeds on the desperate. But it hesitates instinctively around the still. The life you were forcing into existence has begun assembling itself because you stopped bleeding into the wrong places. The reward is not applause. The reward is sovereignty, silence, and a mirror you can finally look into without lying. We are at the edge now. The laws spoken, the silence sharpened, the patience forged. What remains is not more instruction. What remains is the decision, because knowledge that never becomes discipline is just entertainment for men who prefer the feeling of preparation over the price of execution. You came here exhausted, overlooked, giving everything, receiving nothing. That exhaustion is sacred. Let it burn the version of you that was never built to last. From this night forward, think less, see more, speak less, mean more, focus like a weapon, move like a verdict. Stop justifying yourself to people who have already decided. Stop bleeding in public for a world that only respects men who refuse to. Become quiet, the kind that unsettles rooms. Become still, the kind that storms respect. Become rare, the kind the world regrets ignoring. Obey the silence. Obey the discipline. Obey the long game. And let every man who underestimated you discover, far too late, that the quietest one in the room was already building the empire. Now, before you leave this page, I want you to do one thing. Not for this channel, for the man you are about to become. In the comments below, write your personal war cry. Not something you found, not something you borrowed, something that surfaces from the deepest, most uncompromising part of you. Short, sharp, entirely yours, the phrase you will return to on the days the world attempts to dismantle you. The sentence carved into the foundation of who you swore you would become a knight. Write it, make it visible, make it real, because the men who name their conviction out loud are the men who hold themselves to it. And one day, when you scroll back and find those words staring at you, you will remember exactly where you were standing when you decided to stop being ordinary. Drop it below. Let the others in this space read it. Let it reach the next man who needed it on the exact night he needed it most. Because brotherhood forged in silence is still brotherhood, and the disciplined always recognize the disciplined. Across every screen, every distance, every lifetime. If even a single sentence in this script reached the part of you that has been waiting to wake up, you know what to do. The next law, the next sharpening, it is already being built. Do not let the algorithm decide whether it reaches you. You came here as a listener. You leave as a student. Return as the man.